Do you know that God gives what He promises? Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1. There's an occasion for everything and a time for every activity under heaven. This passage tells us that life has different moments, each with its own purpose. God has a clock for everything we do, showing us His perfect time. We can trust in God's plan even though we don't understand it right away, because every second part of our lives is part of His big story, from happy times into the sad ones. There's a story in the Bible, it's in Genesis chapter 37 through 50, about Joseph who waited 13 years before God fulfilled what He promised. For those of you who don't know, Joseph is a son of Jacob and his wife Rachel, known as the righteous one. He was favored by his father. Joseph was 17 when God spoke to him in a dream, saying that one day he would be a ruler. When he told his brothers, they were unimpressed, so much that they wanted to kill him. Joseph was sold as a slave and ended up in Egypt. There, he worked hard, but after being falsely accused, he ended up in jail. 2 years later, King Pharaoh envisioned two dreams, which none of his advisors were able to explain. Joseph was summoned by Pharaoh, and only he interpreted the Pharaoh's dream. After 13 years of waiting, and through a series of incredible events, Joseph ultimately became ruler of the land, second only to King Pharaoh. Joseph was 30 when God fulfilled the dream he had as a teenager, and it was a huge fulfillment. Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3. For the vision is yet for the appointed time. It testifies about the end and will not lie. Though it delays, wait for it, since it will certainly come and not be late. What this passage is telling us is God has a special time for everything. Even if His plan seems slow, we must be patient because it will surely happen at the right moment. Let me tell you my testimony. I was saved by God's grace and He showed me my vision 8 years ago. I graduated back in 2016 with an administrator degree, and I wanted to work for a school or hospital as an IT. The school I have in mind was middle school and high school. During that time, I was never given a chance to work for any school that I want, because God knows I'm not ready, so He gave me an opportunity to work for a different company. I worked for this company for at least 3 years in the IT field. Then there was this big change that occurred, and I ended up leaving and started working at the hospital. Not in the field that I wanted, but still in the hospital that I envisioned. Almost 5 years later, I started going to church. I accepted Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, and now I'm happily married. I'm seeking growth and wanted to go back to IT field. So I started sending resume everywhere, and almost every company I can think of that's hiring. I've gotten multiple interviews, but no luck. I was pushing myself and forcing things to happen on my own. Then I realized that what I was doing is wrong. So I prayed to God, and I surrendered all my worries and problems to Him. I told God to take control over me. Wherever He wants to take me, I will follow. Several weeks have passed, then all of a sudden I've gotten a call from a well-known school where I currently reside. I was given an opportunity to get interviewed, a panel interview. Everything went well, and was told that I'll get a call in a week or two for the result. Then the call came, and to my surprise, I was given an offer to work for a college school as an IT. I never once thought that I would be working for college school. It took almost 8 years for me to receive what God has promised and planned for me. Now I realize why God never answers prayers right away. It's because it's not yet time according to Him, and it's not our time, but His time. God molded me, prepared me to my destination, and took me to multiple changes to develop my character to become who I am today. When we think that our plan is good and all, God will intervene and say, nope, stop right there. I have a better plan for you. Let me be a living testimony that everything that happens in the Bible still happens to this day. And let me remind you to trust in God during our waiting periods. God's promises may take time, but they are never forgotten. In times when doubts creeps in, recall this promise from Habakkuk. Believe that He controls all things, and His timing makes every event beautiful in its own way. God bless.